This is going to be the entire lesson for dividing polynomials. I'm going to show you how to do it using long division method, and this will work for when you're dividing all polynomials. So it's kind of nice. It's a little bit lengthy. It builds a lot on long division itself, so we're going to kind of review that first. But anyway, it'll be the entire lesson, so it's a little bit longer video, but hopefully that'll help if you're struggling with it. All right, when we're dividing polynomials, again, we use the same method that you used, or that you learned, I should say, in like second or third grade with long division. So I've got this problem here with long division, and we kind of want to go through all the steps. All right, so with long division, we go, okay, how many times does 24 go into 26? Well, that goes in one time, so then we write that above. Now here's a key point. This is what we're going to use quite a bit. Then we're going to multiply this 1 by 24. So 1 times 24, we're going to write the number down here. 1 times 24 is 24. Now this is really important. See how this is a positive 24? Now we subtract. In other words, we're going to change the sign. So we subtract 24. So 26 minus 24 is 2. Once we get to that point, then we're going to bring down our 3 here. So we bring down our 3. How many times did 24 go into 23? 0 times. Then then that means we're going to have a remainder of 23. All right, now if you remember back to when you first learned this and you first learned about remainders, you actually write your answer as a fraction. So the answer would be 10 with 23 over 24. So it's this remainder divided by whatever this first initial number was, this 24, okay? And we're going to use that same process today. So a lot of this is going to be very, very similar. So I want you to get a little bit of practice on it. On the next problem here, I'm going to pull it up. I want you to go ahead and try this one. So push pause now, and when you're ready, you can come back and push play after you've gotten your answer. Go ahead and push pause. Okay, check your answer here. Couple one sometimes students miss is this 0 here. 25 goes into 6 0 times. That gives me my remainder. So a couple things here. 1 times 25 equal 25. Then you subtract. Now, when you subtract there, you got to remember to change the sign. That's going to be important. The other thing is our remainder is 6 divided by 25. So 6 divided by 25. That's going to be important for what we're going to do next. All right, so let's bring in the actual problems here. So I've got this one here. This is one polynomial divided by a binomial in this case, but it could be anything. All right, so we're going to use the same process. So I'll bring this one in, and again, you'll see it's set up similar. I've got this one, this x plus 2, way out in front, and then underneath the division sign, I've got the big polynomial. All right, so let's kind of walk through this one, and it's a little bit weird, but as we get some practice on it, it won't be too bad. All right, so we've got this x here. I've got to look at this and go, how many times does x go into 2x cubed? Now, I'm not worried about this positive 2 yet, okay? Just the x. So how many times does x go into 2x cubed? Well, and it looks like a little bit harder. If you think of it in this terms, what do I have to multiply x by to get 2x cubed? Maybe that'll be a little bit easier. So I've got an x, and I need it to be a 2x cubed. That would be, I'm missing basically 2x squared. So I'll write that right up top here. Now notice I wrote it over here. That's because it's lined up with this one here. Some teachers get really, really picky about where you'd line it up. Really, it doesn't matter. I mean, you could write it over here and then write everything else across. Most teachers like you to line it up right here, and that's fine. So if I multiply x times 2x squared, I do get 2x cubed, so that's good. All right, now my next step is going to be multiplying 2x squared by x plus 2. Okay, so I'm going to take this one. Remember with our long division we did that. Previously we did the 1 times 24 in order underneath. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to multiply whatever's on top here by this. Now I have to multiply it by both of these, not just one. So let's do it. Let's do it. We got 2x squared times x gives me 2x cubed. 2x squared times 2 gives me 4x squared. Okay, so I multiplied it by both of these two. Okay. Now that I did that, I need to change the sign. I need to make this subtraction. Well, I'm not going to change just this sign. I'm going to change this sign as well. So I need to change both signs. That made both of them negative. Okay, we subtracted. And that's going to be a major error that students usually make, is that they forget to change both signs, okay? All right, so now I'm going to subtract these two. 2x cubed minus 2x cubed gives me 0. Now that's a clue here. telling you that, okay, you're on the right path because this one should always equal 0 because you're multiplying this one by that, and it should equal what your original one was. All right, so we're going to do this. This is 0. 3x squared minus 4x squared gives me a negative x squared. All right, so now using, just like we did with long division before, we're going to bring down this negative x. Okay, so we bring down our negative x. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to treat this process the same. What do I need to multiply x by to get to negative x squared? Well, it looks like I'm missing a negative x, so I'll write that on top. So negative x, let's see, x times negative x squared, yeah, that'll work. So now I'm going to go back through with this red one here, and I just color-coded it just to show you what I did different. I'm going to multiply this negative x times x, so negative x times x gives me negative x squared, and negative x times 2 gives me negative 2x. And this looks great, and a lot of students, again, like to just skip and go, okay, this one's 0, and then just start going here, and that's wrong, because we have to change both of these signs. All right, so now we need to subtract, so we're going to change both signs. This one will turn positive, and this one will turn positive as well. All right, so that gives me 0 here. Negative x plus 2x gives me plain old x. Then I have to bring down my 1. And you're going to do this. This is a repetitive process. We're going to be doing basically the same thing over and over and over again. The more practice you get on it, it will become very easy. But it's very error-prone just because there's so much to it. So just take it slow, and you'll be okay. All right, so now what I need to multiply x by to get x? Well, it's not 0, because 0 would give me 0. So x to give me x would be a 1. So now I write that on top. And I go through the same process again. 1 times x plus 2. Well, 1 times x plus 2 is just x plus 2. Then I subtract. So these x's cancel. I've got a 1 minus 2 gives me a negative 1. Now I've got nothing else to bring down. In this case, that is my remainder. When you get to the last part here, there are no more x's or whatever the variable is. That will be your remainder, okay? So I bring that up. So that's the quotient, that's your remainder. Your remainder is negative 1. So my answer here, I'm going to pull it up real quick. And let's talk about it just for a second. My answer is everything on top here. This is the 2x squared minus x plus 1. Everything on top here. Now, my remainder in this case is negative 1. So that's where this minus sign came from right here, is negative 1. And it's 1 over whatever this number was here. Well, in this case, it was a binomial, so it's an x plus 2. So I've got negative 1 over x plus 2. Now, if this here were a positive 1, then it would be plus 1, sorry. I went just a little bit ahead there, but if this were a positive 1, then it would be plus 1 over x plus 2, okay? And that was quite a bit to it. Let's do another problem in which we both, which I go through the whole thing, and then I'm going to give you some time to practice. All right, so here's another one. We're going to do the same exact process. So I look at this one here, and I go, what does x need to be multiplied by to get x squared? X to x squared is going to be a plain old x. I write that on top. Then I go through and I multiply this, whatever's on top here, whatever the number I just wrote up, times whatever's out front. So x times x gives me x squared. X times negative 1 gives me negative x. Then I subtract, so I change the sign. Again, that's the major error that students usually make, is they forget to change both signs. So I change the sign. Now I've got those two cancel. That's great. 2x plus x gives me 3x. Now I bring down my 4. Now I start again. What do I need to multiply x by to get to 3x? That would have to be a 3. So then I write my 3 on top. And I go through the process again, where I multiply this 3 here by whatever was out in front. So 3 times x gives me 3x. 3 times negative 1 gives me negative 3. And I change the sign. I subtract. There we go. So these two cancel. 4 plus 3 is 7. I don't have any more x's here. I've got nothing else to bring down. So this is my remainder in this case. So then I'm going to, my remainder 7, I'm going to write my answer. X plus 3 plus 7, because this one's a positive 7, so that's plus 7 over whatever this was up here. Okay, whatever was on the left-hand side of that division box, if you will. That's x minus 1. Okay, so this would be your entire answer here. All right, now that we've got a little bit of, you've seen how to do it on a couple ones, let's get a little bit of practice on them. So here are two of them. I want you to do both of these. So remember, in this case, in the first one, the x minus 2 is going to go way out in front on this left-hand side. All right, try both of these. Push pause now. Try both of these, and then come back in and you can check your answer. Check your answer on these. So this one had a remainder of negative 24, so that's why it was minus 24. Whereas this one over here, the second one, had a remainder 8, and that's why it's positive 8 here. Now, if you made an error, check to make sure you changed your signs on all of these. Okay, you should have changed. This one would have came in as a positive x cubed and a negative 2x squared. But remember, you got to change the sign. So just, if it didn't come quite through the way you wanted, just double check if that's your error on it. All right, let's try two more. Go ahead and try these two. Push pause now. Whenever you're done computing your answer, then come back in and push play. Check your answer on both of these. So you should hopefully be starting to get the process down. The more you do these, the easier they'll become. These are ones in which if you try to do them very fast, you're going to make an error somewhere. So just take your time and go slow on these. You know, this second one became just a little bit more complicated because you had a 4k, not just a k. So you had to go, okay, how many times is what do I need to multiply 4k by to get to 28k cubed? And that was 7k squared. So that became a little bit more complex, but hopefully that wasn't too much of an issue for you. All right, let's try these two. Whenever you're done working on these, push pause now. When you're done working, you can come back and push play. Check your answer on both of these. Now, this one over here, number 1, many people like to write it as 2 over 6p minus 2. Now that would be wrong because it's not fully reduced. If I look here, a 2 can go into all 3 of those. So you need to factor out that 2, which would reduce down if we divided each one of those 3 components there by 2. That gives you 1 over 3p minus 1. Okay, so that's an error that a lot of students make. You just need to make sure that you reduce it as much as you possibly can. Okay, and that concludes the lesson today. So if you need to go back through and review it at all, you can. I also have individual videos of similar problems as well if you want to go back in and review those as well.